Alrighty, Lumberjacks, welcome back. I've had a request to go over a video that Farming Simulator has just recently released on their channel. So we're just going to kind of watch the video here together. And I was going to give you guys my opinion on it. I've had lots of people ask me my thoughts on 2019, and now that they've released a little bit more of a forestry related video, we should be able to kind of take a look and see what's coming up, and I can let you guys know what I think about certain things. So this is the video that they released. Basically, it's just the intro is a guy from, I'm assuming, marketing for Komatsu, talking about this new equipment that's coming out in the game. So he's basically showing the relation between the real life equipment and the in-game equipment. So I'm just gonna pop ahead a little bit till we actually get to the game itself. So like I said, they have lots of footage of it falling and stuff in the bush. I personally don't think it was a great idea to directly compare real life to the video game, because the comparison's a little rough. Okay, so here we go. So opening scene on this. There's a few things we can tell that's actually pretty cool from a modding perspective. One, the lighting does look exquisitely beautiful. I think the lighting is going to be a nice touch for the game. Hopefully it won't hurt performance too bad, but the lighting looks really good. One thing also, like I said, I just kind of go through these still frames so I can show you guys what I'm looking at. But one thing I did notice is they took a lot more detail in these trees by putting a lot more detail into the mesh that's on the tree branches themselves. So we'll just kind of cruise along here. So he's coming up here. Like I said, the trees look very similar. Some of the trees look very similar to 2017. Like, I'm not expecting too much of a big change here. Let's see here. But I mean, like, even getting a shot like this, I mean, obviously they've added lots of, flora and fauna, bushes and stuff like that. So I mean, that's going to be fun. You can see that there's shadowing that's actually affected on the bushes themselves. So that tells me we're going to have lots of really nice lighting. It might bring some life to the forest that we've never seen before. So even when I'm going in to make maps and mods and stuff like that, I'll be able to really dig into the detail. So as we continue through, they basically show the processor opening up. I mean, details on the machines, in my opinion, is a lot nicer than it used to be. So I'm hoping whatever they've done with the texturing is a lot smoother and a lot cleaner. So when we're building mods, we'll be able to match up, putting all our hydraulics in properly, pistons, dynamic hoses. We want to do the works when we go to 2019. As I've said in previous videos, we're not going to screw around with releasing half-cut crappy mods. Our mods are going to come out a lot slower than they did for 2017, but as for FDR Logging, we want to produce something that's better. So I have Chad and I have Bobcat, which is the two guys who are working with me right now. Between all three of us, we're going to be working on these mods and really dissecting them, bringing the 2017 mods over to 2019. We're going to try to get them on consoles. We're going to try to create some new maps, but really bring them to life with lots of detail, lots of the stuff you're seeing here, dynamic hoses and pretty stuff. As far as the video goes, one thing I did notice, so I'm not sure if this is just a random off-kilter thing, but I noticed as he puts the head in, this bush here wiggles, and I'm not sure if it's just the wind, like, for the game, like, dynamically, or if he bumps it, but it looks like it moved when he bumped it. I don't know if you guys can catch that in that quick little shot. See how it moved? And I think that head did it. I think the physics may actually have a dynamic effect with the bushes, so, like, crop destruction, I guess it's called. I'm hoping that's the case. It might not be true. But I just saw that when I first watched it, and I'm like, oh man, did that bush move? Because that would be so amazing if you could have that, but we'll see kind of what happens after that. Continuing on, cutting the trees. Here's a nice shot again of the lighting. The lighting's actually quite nice. I think that's going to really bring in some fun. Dropping the trees. I mean, I don't have the audio enabled on this. I haven't actually listened to this with audio, so I don't know it. Like, I'm hoping the trees maybe have a dropping sound to them. I don't know. Here, let's actually we can do the audio. I want to hear if it actually does have a drop. So
Komatsu in das Spiel zu integrieren.
Yeah, so I mean, like, they have sound effects covering it. I imagine there probably won't be sound effects with the trees dropping. The reason I muted it is because I don't want to get copyright strikes on this. I may even get copyright strikes because this is not my video. We're just kind of reviewing it. Processor head looks very similar, like watching it process. I mean, you still have the basic particles coming off the head that were always there. They don't look like they've been improved that much. I can see on some of these trees, the branches have been improved. Like I said, you start to see more kind of branchy areas like up here. Lots of more branches are bigger on these trees as they kind of separate. Before, you never really had that solid branch feel because you always had these little twiggy, ugly things that you were cutting off the trees. So having these big, long, branchy kind of sections really, I think it'll add some dynamic fun to the trees. And I see there's some crook in here and some kind of difference to the actual trees themselves. But I guess we won't really be able to tell until we get there. Again, full dynamic guy inside the cab, operating, moving stuff around. As far as I watch the trees fall, it's very similar to the other game physics-wise. I don't see much of an improvement there personally. Let's see here. So as he runs it, one thing I do notice is the physics are still delayed, which I'm not impressed with. I was really hoping they'd find a solution for that. So, for instance, as he runs this log, watch how the log freely just jumps up and down in the grapple. Whoop, whoop. See how it hops up and down? So that's something called delayed mesh, and that's the reason why the heads on all my machines in 2017 drag behind, because they're alive as opposed to being delayed. So the physics are touching this log as it runs through, but it's not actually, you can't see the actual physical physics that are touching it. So it causes this kind of a false delay in the log itself. Looking at this scene again, the lighting's beautiful, showing it's reflecting off all of these bushes. That's an amazing thing. I really like to see that. He is piling on a hill, so maybe they got the rolling physics fixed a little bit better. Any kind of work on a hill in 2017, you know, can be really sketchy. I don't know what this would be like if we dropped it on steep stuff. I mean, it's possible it still slides, but at least it gives you an idea. So then the video pops back to this guy talking away. Now, this is where in the video they start doing kind of more direct comparisons. And although it looks, you know, nice and stuff like that, I really think direct comparisons, the way they've done it, was a terrible idea to show it off, because you start to see the physics differences. So, I mean, it's similar, yes. You do have similar stuff, but the worst is when they get, well, I'll show you here as we continue. So they cut it. Like I said, it's comparing it to real life is really tough. It's obviously a simulation, so you're not going to get perfect, but it's much different than what you'd expect to see in real life. And I don't know why if they're doing these flash comparisons back and forth, which is, you know, cool and all, but I don't see how that actually would be a good relation to showing how it works in game. I mean, they're trying to probably convince people to be like, it's just like the game, but it's not quite the same. So looking at these scenes, I mean, they have scenes like where they show the flexibility of the rollers, flexibility of the tracks, using logs to create ditches. I mean, they showed all this, but there's no comparison to that in the game. So I'm not expecting flex between the tires. I'm not expecting flex between the cab. I'm not expecting to be able to drive over logs and make roads like these logs are reacting here. So I'm not entirely sure why they're showing that comparison, unless they're just, you know, showing stuff off. Now, this is the part where we get to the forwarder, and this is the part that, like I said, I'm really excited for all the new stuff and, you know, it being better, but I can clearly see when they start comparing this forwarder to the in-game one that they have not learned anything from the physics on the last game. And that really disappoints me as a logger, strictly. So as you watch a real-life machine work, these grapples will hug up. So this is the grapple, obviously, like this big metal head here. They'll hug up on these logs. They'll grab big groups of logs tight. They hold them well. They load them up. See how he's got 3 logs in there, nice and tight. Holds it up, drops it in. Now in a minute, they're going to switch over to, here it shows the grapple, yada, yada, yada. Now they switch over to the in-game one here in a couple of seconds. So there you go. First of all, I don't know why in the world they chose to use these blue tracks. I mean, maybe it's a European thing or something. I have seen like the lighter tracks like this before, but God, they just really look hideous. And then to directly compare them to the other forwarder in real life that clearly has gray tracks, they put on these nasty ass blue ones, and I don't know why they did that, but whatever. I'm sure modding and stuff can change that. But looking at it from this point of view, I can show you guys the direct comparison. So these are the grapples in game. And again, as we saw, that processor log was jumping up and down in the grapple with that delayed physics. This thing also has delayed physics and is the #1 problem with why I will not use the in-game equipment, because it's not efficient. So now in the next series of shots, they go through and you're going to see the original grapple for like the real life machine grabbing logs, and then you're going to see this one, and it's an utter disappointment to say the least to me. So they show this grapple biting up on it, dragging it in. See, look how many logs. You got like 3 logs in there, 4 logs maybe. And then they show the in-game one. So switch from that to this in-game one. So the grapple's not even hugged up on it because the physics are delayed. So there's always going to be this gap in between. The thing's bouncing around. The claws are jittery. It doesn't even hold on to the damn log. And they do these quick shots to kind of cover that up. So like, instead of showing them like load it and get it around the head, they just go, oh, immediately dropping it right in there because then it looks good. But they're not showing where the problem is, right? Again, so they pick it up. Look how much gap there is on the log. I'm sorry, but this, I don't want to be super critical, but this is the one thing that I've been battling against since 2015. So on all the grapples and all the heads that I've made have been direct physics. That's why you can squeeze up tight on these logs. You can crush them good. And it looks like you actually have them in your grapple when you put them on. And they don't wiggle around. They don't bounce around. They don't pop out of the grapple. And I know these ones will again because they're just using the same physics again. So, like, why wouldn't you address that? Like, I understand you're playing a simulator, whatever the heck. But, I mean, like, something so simple as just pulling the physics back, doing something to kind of clean that up. It looks like a joke having this bobble-headed space in between when you're loading. Not to mention, by the time they actually get it loaded here, let's see. So they do some more direct comparisons up here. So showing it grabbing. See, like when you watch a real one, that's so satisfying. Watch this grapple as it closes on these logs. Just crunch. And you know it's there. It's not going anywhere. It's tight. It feels, you know, like secure. And then it shows, like, these ones when they're, like, they won't even show a full grab because it probably fell out of the grapple. So they show this one grabbing, then they do this quick shot to this one picking them up, which is barely hanging on to them. I know it's barely hanging on to them. And then, you know, this quick flash cutout. Like, look at that. Look at that quick shot. Sorry, I'm being so critical of this, but it just drives me mental. So these are barely even being held on by this grapple, just by the tip. They probably slipped out when the operator was playing around with it. But the grapple's just wiggling about all over the log, just acting crazy, and doesn't even go anywhere. And yeah, I don't know. That just drives me bonkers. And then they show it like adjusting its angles to go down hills, and then they come back to this thing that's just solidly going. So I'm not really super impressed with that. And as FDR Logging, as me, as our group, we will make sure that we fix that problem with our grapples again, because I will be tearing these things apart and I will be putting it all proper, because if there's one thing we want done correctly in this game, it's going to be the logging, because we definitely want that fixed up. So yeah, like I said, a lot of people wanted me to kind of review that video and just show you guys what I thought of it. So lots of pros, lots of stuff I like about it, lots of stuff I'm really excited to see in the new game, lots of, you know, like detailed mountainsides, detailed everything. Like the trees look good, everything. As a map editor guy, I think it's going to be a blast creating our own little worlds and putting in our own textures and trees, you know, doing our own little thing. But as a physics guy working with the logging equipment, not super impressed what I've seen with the grapples, not super impressed what I've seen with the different heads and stuff. But that stuff we'll have to fix on our end, just like we did in 2017. So yeah, anyway, that's my opinion of it so far. It's you know, it's got new features, but it's still a long way away from what we would like to see for logging, at least for our crazy logging group that's trying to get as close to reality as possible. So yeah, anyway, that's my 2 cents. You guys can take it however you want. But if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below. If you guys are enjoying the content, definitely hit that subscribe button. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.